Remember when heavy metal ruled our lives? When great albums and great concerts came out every month?
Yeah, the 80s.
Well, it's time to look back at those days, so take out your old vinyl
And cassettes.
put on your denim jacket.
And raise your fist in the air.
It's time for the 80s Metal Hang, a classic heavy metal podcast.
Oh, yeah.
This week is an episode of Extremes as the hard rock heavy metal pendulum swings from the melodic Night Ranger singing about Sister Christian all the way to the demonic Mercyful Fate singing about Melissa the Witch. Somewhere in between lie Alice Cooper, Blue Oyster Cult, Alcatrazz, and Girlschool, and we'll discuss it all as we look back at October and November of 1983 on the 80s Metal Hang.
And I'm going to say it again. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So this episode really covers the full scope of hard rock and heavy metal at the time.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
So some of the bands we mentioned, you're probably sitting there thinking, how are these in the same episode? How are these bands in the same realm? But, you know, the first one, Night Ranger, I think we'll talk about.
Well, it makes sense. We just spoke about Ozzy and Brad Gillis, so there you go.
Yeah, and we had on our thread site, we had a poll about the best 80s Ozzy album, and 200 people responded, and the best 80s non-Randy album, I should say. And between Speak of the Devil, Bark at the Moon, Ultimate Sin, and No Rest for the Wicked, Bark at the Moon came in first, but actually Speak of the Devil came in second.
Oh,
so people know Brad Gillis. They appreciate Brad Gillis' time in Ozzy. And that gave a little, you know.
Last I looked, I thought it was trailing. Remember I said it's probably not doing so well because you can't find it streaming anywhere.
Yeah, maybe I'm lying. Maybe I read it wrong.
It doesn't matter. We like it.
Speak of the Devil gave a push to Brad Gillis and some promo to Night Ranger. So Night Ranger was definitely in the hard rock metal category, at least for their first two albums. Their first album, Dawn Patrol, had the well-known song Don't Tell Me You Love Me. And now this is their second album called Midnight Madness.
And this was pretty good, too. It had some really great songs. In my opinion, this album is kind of like when we were talking about Triumph. They're a band of great hits, but each record isn't really front to back great. This has some great songs, but there's a lot of skippables. Some of it's 80s dated.
Yeah. It opens with You Can Still Rock in America, which, you know, people always post every 4th of July on their social media.
Yeah.
I know I probably did once or twice. So great guitar playing, rockin' song to open up the album.
Yeah, the great songs on here are great, so yeah, I'm not taking away from the album.
Rumors in the Air, Touch of Madness, and then
Sister Christian.
You can't not mention Sister Christian, which was the big hit off this album. Actually reached number 5 in the singles chart. It was their highest charted single ever.
It was in the movie Boogie Nights, too, if you remember that scene.
Well, it's one of those songs that kind of lasted for decades and appeared in movies in the 2000s, you know.
It's a staple, that song. You'll hear it at any particular radio station you put on that's rock.
Yes, it's definitely in the classic rock 100 that you hear on your local radio stations. This album went platinum, went as high as number 15 on the Billboard charts. And you ever see Night Ranger?
Nope.
I did back in the day, and then they played locally, and they were doing a tour where they did the whole first 2 albums. Dawn Patrol, and then this album, Midnight Madness. So I got to see all the hits. It's almost the same band. 3 out of the 5 guys are still in the band.
Was Jeff Watson in it when you saw it?
Jeff Watson is not in the band.
No, when you saw them, was he?
No, this is only like 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Okay.
So he's been out for a while, but their guitar playing stood out. It wasn't just that Brad Gillis wasn't Ozzy. You know, Brad Gillis and Jeff Watson, you know, they were ripping guitar players on this album.
Yeah, for some reason, Brad Gillis got a lot more credit, a lot more publicity with his playing. But the other guy, Jeff Watson, he was really great too. He did that 8-finger tapping and You Could Still Rock in America. I remember as a kid watching that saying, is he really doing that or is it just... But he was.
And that kind of, I don't want to say made them metal, but you didn't see a lot of pop rock bands have dueling guitar solos, you know, where a guitar solo would do back and forth, you know, like KK Downing and Glenn Tipton, like Adrian Smith and Dave Murray. You know, that's what these guys had. So it definitely stood out. I remember they had an MTV concert back then. They had the big flag come down for You Could Still Rock in America. And they were always unusual because live they would have the drummer off to stage left, the keyboard player over to stage right, and they'd have the the three other members in the middle, Jack Blade singing, and then Watson and Gillis trading off leads.
Seeing there was a video concert footage. I don't know what it was. It might be the same one, but the keyboard player was wearing like a surgeon outfit or scrubs.
Yeah, he did.
That's the one?
I think he's wearing it on the album cover too. I don't know what that was for exactly.
Weird.
Yeah, it was. And that was Alan Fitzgerald was his name. And he's not in the band anymore either. But he ended up playing with some other bands after
we got
Night Ranger
malpractice
as well.
suit. Got him.
What's that?
The malpractice suit.
Maybe he went into medicine full time. I don't know. But so that is Night Ranger's Midnight Madness. And, again, the debate about what's metal, what's hard rock, they're going to get even a little bit lighter on their future albums. So I don't know how many more albums we'll be talking about with Night Ranger, but I think the first two definitely are hard rock.
Well,
light metal classics.
When we were kids, Rob and I, we listened to metal. We were Maiden, Ozzy, all that stuff. And I definitely listened to this. So did you.
I had this out on record.
Yeah, we loved it. The guitar playing was just amazing to me. As a guitar player, I was like, wow. And Brad Gillis with the Floyd Rose tremolo or whammy bar for you other people. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
I loved it.
And just the fact that 5 years ago, they announced a show nearby and I was like, I'm going. It shows that I have that nostalgia. I have that positive feeling about them from 1983.
Yeah, they were good stuff. So you can call them not metal, but they're metal.
One band you cannot mistake, Craig, for not being metal is the next band.
Oh, boy, who?
Mercyful Fate.
Oh, we're going right to those guys, huh?
Let's go to the two extremes.
Oh, man.
We'll fill in the gaps in between afterwards. But we have Sister Christian and now Mercyful Fate singing about a witch named Melissa.
This band the band itself was very, very good. I have kind of conflicting feelings about this band, and because I listen to the music and the music it's great. The guitar players are great. The writing is great. The writing is so different. It's almost theatrical, I guess, because it's all over the place. Then the singing comes in, and I'm kind of like, I always thought it would. I don't. People get mad if I say it, but it's silly.
It's an acquired taste, and I ended up, really enjoying it, following King Diamond through his career, seeing him a bunch of times live. When Melissa came out, I can't say I was aware of this album. It came out on Roadrunner Records, then Megaforce, and I think we mentioned Megaforce once or twice before, but, that's such an important label in New Jersey. John and Marsha Zazula, they brought Metallica to the East Coast to record Kill 'Em All. They're involved with Mercyful Fate albums and Overkill albums and Anthrax albums. So they brought Mercyful Fate's album basically to this country. And same thing. I mean, the music is amazing. King Diamond wrote all the songs with the guitar player Hank Sherman. The other, was it Michael Denner? Is the other guitar player, I think?
Yes.
So they're, definitely, I don't know how, they're shocking. The voice is shocking when you first hear it.
Yeah, you do get used to it, but it's just weird.
When he started doing solo albums and doing concept albums, he would do 3 or 4 different voices for 3 or 4 different characters. Here, it's kind of just straight falsetto, kind of one voice on this album.
He does the low and the high, and it kind of gets you off guard. You're like, where did that come from?
And it's funny because of the imagery and the satanic lyrics and the face paint. Everyone talks about how this is the forefather of extreme and black and death metal, but the music on this album, while good, it's not extreme. It's not like 1,000 miles an hour. It's like Priest,
Yeah, you think it's going to sound like these bands today, like Abath or Immortal, but it's good. The music reminded me more of like Halloween or something. It was very melodic, very kind of prog, I guess. Not really in time change, but the changes were cool. The key changes.
Some of it, the riffs remind me of Kill 'Em All, actually, too.
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't, I wouldn't call it thrash, would you?
Thrash, to me, always meant like more speed,
like Exodus or something.
And, in a couple of months, you have Slayer coming out. And when you hear that, that sounds thrash and more extreme music-wise than Mercyful Fate did. But there's no denying their influence. They only had the EP, they had this, they had the next album, Don't Break the Oath, and I think that's it.
I believe so,
I think King Diamond went solo with was a Fatal Portrait a couple years later. So
and he wrote the song about grandma. Remember that?
that was the Them album. Yeah. I mean, Mercyful Fate, I don't have any statistics to give you about gold or platinum albums or Billboard charts. This is very, very underground, but it is funny talking about Night Ranger and then into Mercyful Fate because, you know, some bands like Night Ranger are going to start getting lighter, and underneath, you know, there's this groundswell of a band called Metallica, a band called Mercyful Fate. There's some band called Slayer recording an album to come out in a month or two. You know, there's something changing in the hard rock metal world.
I think we heard of it, if I remember right. We were auditioning some guitar player. You remember his name? Jim some, I don't want to say his last name. But he told us about this band Mercyful Fate, and this guy was a fanatic. And that's how I got into him. And I was kind of like, this is kind of creepy and evil, but it's nice.
I might save this for the episode where we talk about their next album, Don't Break the Oath, but that I didn't get into them or hear about them until Don't Break the Oath. And my cousin and I rode our bikes to a record store by his house, my cousin Andy, and we got this album, Don't Break the Oath, and we read the lyrics, and we thought we were going to get in trouble. We thought it was like getting caught with like a Playboy or something. Like we thought if our parents found this album, we'd be punished because the lyrics was so over the top and, you know, anti-religion and everything. And I think he hid it under his bed and then like sold it to someone in school, you know?
Yeah, just listening to Melissa, even, it's like I start feeling like, is karma going to get me or something? Because it was just like,
he wants to get back at the priests who burned Melissa, his love, who's a witch or something. And so,
a lot of satanic.
Yeah, I mean, I got a kick out of on Night Ranger's album. The fourth song is Sister Christian. On Mercyful Fate's Melissa, the fourth track is At the Sound of the Demon Bell. So,
what's a demon bell?
I don't know. I guess the gates of hell have opened up and there's a bell summoning you. I don't know.
Maybe it goes with those effects from Sabotage, like
maybe
screams of terror.
Yes, maybe. So Mercyful Fate will be talked about in future episodes, as will King Diamond. But that actually came out as far back as October of 1983.
And again, I said the voice was silly, but the band is great, and you get used to the voice, so don't take it the wrong way out there, people, and don't put spells and hexes on me.
The next band who came out with an album in the fall of 1983 is very, very quickly a guitar player named Yngwie Malmsteen. He was in a band called Steeler just a couple of months ago. They released an album, and now he's jumped into a band with former Rainbow singer Graham Bonnet, and they named themselves after a famous prison. Yeah,
and it wasn't Rikers. It wasn't
Sing Sing.
Nope. It was Alcatrazz.
Alcatrazz. We should start a band called Sing Sing. I bet you there was a band called Attica.
There wasn't high school.
Was there?
Yeah.
Attica's a prison in New York, for those of you who don't know.
Yes.
Craig and I have never been there.
No, not in any way.
Not in any way, not even as visitors. But Alcatrazz had an album called No Parole from Rock and Roll.
That's a nice title.
They definitely like the puns of Alcatrazz and arrests and parole. So this is Graham Bonnet and Yngwie Malmsteen, who had left Steeler. They co-wrote all the songs together. The only song I knew on here was Too Young to Die, Too Drunk to Live, which I'd heard live versions of. They toured in 1984, right after this album. They came out with a live album, but they basically, this is it. This is the end of Alcatrazz.
Didn't they get... Was this the one where they got rid of him for Steve Vai, right?
Steve Vai, right. They did a live album. Then supposedly Malmsteen and Graham Bonnet not only fought with each other, but actually may have gotten into a fight on stage, actually pushing each other and hitting each other with a guitar and a mic stand. But who knows? I wasn't there. But they're also another one of those bands where they've had some reunions, but all without Yngwie Malmsteen. But their bass player and drummer have reunited. And now there's two Alcatrazzes. There's Graham Bonnet's Alcatrazz, and then there's another version of Alcatrazz.
It's so dumb when bands do that.
Just like there have been two Queensryches and two Rats. And so
there are a bunch of Quiet Riots and stuff.
As a guitar player, were you aware of Yngwie at this point?
At this point, no, I wasn't. I hadn't heard of him until he came out solo. And I think I forget the name of the song right off the top of my head right now. But I remember when I first heard him on Metal Shop.
I'm a Viking?
No, now your ships are burned. I think that was the song. And I couldn't understand how someone could play that fast. Because at that point, we were listening to Warren DeMartini, Randy Rhoads. They were fast. They were good. But this guy was just Like, how do you fit all those notes? And you hear every single note. It's clean.
He took control of his own career after this Alcatrazz experience. He didn't want to deal with Ron Keel or Graham Bonnet anymore. So after this, he goes solo. So I guess the only interesting thing about going back and listening to Alcatrazz is no parole from rock and roll. It's just to hear what Yngwie sounded before he was Yngwie, before it was the Rising Force. Or
the burgeoning Swede of metal.
Burgeoning Swede. Who never, he always came over and he was with an American singer and then a British singer. He didn't, he had some Swedish band members, but I think he lives in Florida, like the last 25 years or something. So
he has a blue car
that he drives up to Long Island sometimes. But if you're in Florida, look around. Yngwie might be cruising around, blasting "I'll See the Light Tonight" out of his own car.
Maybe Vivaldi, who knows?
So that was a very short-lived project, Alcatrazz. Someone who has an amazingly long career going back to the late 60s and is still touring right now is Alice Cooper.
Oh, yeah. Legendary Alice.
And in the fall of 1983, he came out with an album called Dada.
And it was an interesting album. I don't want to say I dislike it because I don't, but it's not Alice Cooper. It's odd. It's very 80s, very dated. And it's a lot of keyboards, very pop synth and stuff. And it's very theatrical. Like, the first thing that popped to my head is I could picture this being in a Cirque du Soleil show. Mm-hmm. Like if you did one about Alice or something.
Right, maybe it'll have a second life as acrobats dance to Alice Cooper's Dada. I didn't know this at the time, but I've since read it. I think you probably read it too. Alice Cooper calls 3 albums that he had his 3 blackout albums. And not blackout like Scorpions Blackout or The Lights Go Out Blackout. Like he was blackout drunk.
He doesn't remember making these.
And does not remember being in the studio for 3 straight albums. Special Forces, Zipper Catches Skin, and this one, Dada. He doesn't play any of the songs anymore live from this album. It led to the end of his time with his record company. Alice Cooper, I mean, we know School's Out, No More.
Under My Wheels.
All that stuff from back then. And then we know the 80s stuff with, some of the great bands he's had recently. But he has actually 29 total albums. 22 of them are Alice Cooper solo, because if you remember, it was called the Alice Cooper Band, and he took on the name Alice Cooper with the band, and then went solo, Alice Cooper, and has 22 albums going into the 2020s. He's had albums in the last few years. An unbelievable career, very, very different periods of his career. He had some hair metal type albums in the late 80s. This is not one that really...
It's different.
Yeah.
It's... give it a try. It's something to try, but it's not Alice.
Got a very famous producer though, Bob Ezrin, who I think this was the 9th time he worked with Alice Cooper. And Bob Ezrin is just a legendary producer. He did Kiss Destroyer. He did those Alice Cooper albums. He did The Wall. He was co-producer on The Wall.
I was going to say, didn't he do Pink Floyd before this? So.
Yeah, and right before this, he did an album with Kiss called The Elder.
Ooh.
And if you know anything about Kisstory, Craig winced when I said Kisstory. I was going to say Kiss History, and then I thought you'd be impressed that I said Kisstory.
It was nice. It was good.
No, you cringed.
Well, it was a good cringe.
Craig got chills when I said Kisstory. If you know your Kisstory, The Elder is not a great Kiss album. It's maybe people like it now because it was so different from every other Kiss album. It was Kiss's attempt at a Wall-like concept album. So now, a year and a half or so later, he's working with Alice Cooper, very similar. Keyboards, kind of a story going on, conceptual.
Yeah. I mean, even Warner Brothers, they weren't happy, and they pretty much didn't even want to promote it.
This was the end of his time with that company. I don't think he puts an album out for 3 more years.
Yeah, it was a contract fulfillment album,
right,
basically.
Yeah, probably. And so, in the late 80s, he becomes more maybe hair metal. He had the albums Constrictor and Raise Your Fist and Yell, and what was that one with
Poison?
Poison, was that the name of the album? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Where he worked with Desmond Child. But even now, he in the 2000s, 21st century, Alice Cooper is just constantly touring, and he really has a great band, and it's a band he's not changing members constantly. He's got a great band with guitar players Ryan Roxy and Tommy Hendrickson. Chuck Garrick and Glenn Sobel are the rhythm section. He even has
Nita Strauss was in there.
Who actually she's on maternity leave right now. So they have another girl whose name escapes me. She had the baby already, I believe. But yeah, she's another great guitar player who used to be in the Iron Maidens.
I saw Alice Cooper with her twice.
I saw them once opening for Maiden with this lineup. I don't know if she was in it though. Orianthe might have been in it. You know, that other blonde guitar player. Do you recognize the name Tommy Hendrickson?
Of course, Long Island.
Yeah. So Tommy Hendrickson was in a Long Island local band called Rough Cut, not to be confused with the Paul Shortino Rough Cut from California.
They had to change the name to The Cut because of that, right?
Yeah. Well, they were RUFFKUT, I think, right?
I think so. Yeah, it was metal.
And I don't know if you were there, but one of the first times I ever went to a bar for a rock show was an all ages show at either a place called the Stage Door or Cheers. And it was with Rough Cut. And they would do like a set of originals, and then they would do cover songs. That drummer used to come out and sing like Van Halen songs. And I believe Tommy Hendrickson was the bass player then.
I think so. Was it Johnny Roggio was the guitar player?
Yeah. So anyway, Tommy Hendrickson and Alice Cooper's band has got a long history going back to the 80s in local bands on Long Island. So that's a little local connection to Alice Cooper. But Alice Cooper, I mean, we could do a whole episode on Alice Cooper, multiple episodes.
Anybody out there, even if you don't like his music, go to an Alice Cooper show. You will not be disappointed.
Well, I mean,
it's the most fun show I've ever been to.
This isn't even in my notes, and I don't know if it's in yours, but I didn't even think of it till now. King Diamond. Look at King Diamond's face with the makeup and everything.
Where does it come from? Right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's no Alice Cooper, does he do that? Does Kiss do what they do? I mean, Alice Cooper is kind of, I don't know if he gets enough credit for coming, 5 years before Kiss with all the theatrics and everything else.
And that's the thing with Alice that I like about him. He's kind of a regular guy. Like you say, he doesn't get the credit, but he's not looking for the credit. A lot of guys in maybe like Gene Simmons or something, they'll do anything they can to get attention.
Alice Cooper also had his, we call these the blackout albums. He also had his time of the celebrity circles and hanging out with John Lennon. He used to live next door to Groucho Marx, like in Beverly Hills.
Wow.
I mean, there's definitely a movie. As they're making all these rock biopics, there's definitely an Alice Cooper movie out there that I think should be made.
When he spoke with Groucho, was it silent?
Well, Groucho wasn't in silent movies. Groucho spoke.
Oh, what am I thinking of?
Well, the other, you're talking about the Marx Brothers? Harpo didn't. Harpo was the wig.
Oh, I don't know what I'm thinking.
He would just honk the horn. Groucho was, the mustache. The cigar. And this was older Groucho. But anyway, so now we've talked about King Diamond and Groucho Marx and Sister Christian. This episode is something else.
Yeah, but go see Alice Cooper in concert. I'm telling you.
You will not be disappointed.
I'm going to vouch for him.
He appreciates it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
As does his band. Another band that came out with an album in the fall of 83 is an all-female band. We talked about Nita Strauss being in Alice Cooper's band, but way back in the early 80s, there was an all-girl heavy metal band out of England called Girlschool, and they had 3 albums prior to this. This is their 4th album. It's a little slicker than the other 3.
I didn't really like this one. It has potential. The songs aren't bad. The album, the mix, the production is just dead to me. I don't know how to. Maybe it's too much compression. It's definitely dated. It's definitely 80s sounding.
It's funny. When I first saw the cover, the album's called Play Dirty. I don't know if I said that. When I first saw the cover, I'm not like commenting on their looks or anything, but they were dressed in more colorful clothes and their hair started to be a little bit more 80s. Mm-hmm. And the girl school that I knew was hanging out with Motorhead. And they almost like dressed like Motorhead. They used to wear like leather jackets and stuff.
Yeah, this was a softer album.
They always toured with Motorhead. And now this Play Dirty album is produced by 2 guys from the band Slade.
Yeah.
Noddy Holder and Jim Lee. And,
they do Slade songs on this album too.
And their producers suggest to them, hey, why don't you cover 2 Slade songs on here?
By the way, I get royalties from that, right?
Exactly. So they covered Burning in the Heat and High and Dry, 2 Slade songs. And they also covered T-Rex's 20th Century Boy. So 3 covers on this album. Weird. Yeah. But, I think Slade was like the flavor of the year. Come on, Feel the Noise is huge.
Yeah.
So now they're like, oh, the Slade guy, Slade themselves even comes back and records an album, off this everyone mentioning "Come On Feel the Noise," the original version of Slade. I don't think I even heard of Slade before I heard of Quiet Riot and "Come and Feel the Noise."
I didn't either.
So,
but like I kept thinking, this album like I said before, it had potential. Some of the songs could be rocking if it had a better mix, but there was no energy. It was kind of like when we were saying with the Ozzy album, Ultimate Sin, it was kind of just flat.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. Even the drums, I'm not sure, but I think they were electronic drums.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we're going to talk about Blue Oyster Cult in a couple of minutes, and the same kind of thing. Bands, sometimes when you jump on the latest technology, it gets dated so quickly. There's a reason AC/DC doesn't sound necessarily dated from album 2 to album 12 is because it's just guitar, bass, and drums, and that's it.
Yeah, it's all you need.
And when you get the latest guitar effect or vocal, compressor or electronic drums, it sounds dated very quickly. But Girlschool, legendary. They ended up having 13 albums. They had pretty much the same lineup until, unfortunately, a member or two passed away. But this is the classic Girlschool lineup. It's also, you get a producer. Just because you're a good musician doesn't necessarily mean you're a good producer.
No.
It's like the sports analogy of just because you're the greatest athlete does not mean you'll make the greatest coach. So I don't know if Slade did them any favors producing their album, but that's Girlschool, Play Dirty.
And that's a great name, though. Naughty Holder. I'm going to put that in my list.
Naughty Holder, right up there with, what was the one we said?
Fleming Rasmussen.
Rasmussen.
Herman Rarebell.
And what, Rod Smallwood.
All these names. I was going to say Nico McBrain.
Nico McBrain, that's another great one. How about a name like Blue Oyster Cult? Blue Oyster Cult came out with an album in the fall of '83. It was their 9th album, and it was called, why don't I have the title here? Revolution by Night? Revolution by Night, yeah. Checking my notes. Revolution by Night. Now, this is the Blue Oyster Cult. It already has Burning for You, Don't Fear the Reaper, Godzilla, Cities on Flame. So this is after that. They did a tour with Black Sabbath, the Black and Blue tour a couple years prior. Their albums prior to this, the last 2 were produced by famous Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden and Deep Purple producer Martin Birch. But they moved away from that. And now they have a producer named Bruce Fairbairn. And if you don't know who Bruce Fairbairn is, he ends up having a studio in Vancouver where he records all the Bon Jovi albums, Slippery When Wet, New Jersey. He does Aerosmith's Do This Like a Lady album, Permanent Vacation, and whatever the one after that was. He becomes like a really great producer. But for this one, he's recording a Long Island band, Blue Oyster Cult, in Long Island studios. The same studios Aldo Nova recorded his album in that we just talked about a couple of episodes ago. And Aldo Nova actually guests on this album. But doesn't help the album because this album, I'm sorry, Blue Oyster Cult, it's not good.
It's no Godzilla. Godzilla would stomp all over this.
Yeah, it's no, and it's funny. I had the live album, Extraterrestrial Live, before this, and I thought because they toured with Black Sabbath, it kind of gave you the impression that they were heavier than they were. But this album is just all over the place. It's weak. It's soft sounding. It doesn't. I don't know, like. Just coming out of a live album, that live version of Godzilla that became so famous on the radio, why they would follow it with something so weak. There's electronic drums on here, like Craig was mentioning for Girlschool. It's just not a good album. The last album had gone gold. The last couple of albums, this one had no certifications whatsoever. And even when you look at their tour dates, they start to go from coliseums and arenas. And next thing you know, it's theaters and bars, and this is really the beginning of the decline of Blue Oyster Cult.
Didn't they start playing as Soft White Underbelly or something? Well,
they used to use an alias, Soft White Underbelly, because they were afraid if they announced them as Blue Oyster Cult, there'd be 10,000 people showing up to a bar, so they would do like semi-secret shows as Soft White Underbelly. But eventually, the name Blue Oyster Cult wasn't even filling up small places, unfortunately. And I'm not trying to dump on Blue Oyster Cult. They're still around. They're still touring. And, God bless them. They're from Long Island. Well, not all originally, but they met at a college here in Long Island where they formed in the early 70s. Legendary band with, those 5 songs. Craig mentioned earlier, Night Ranger, Some bands just have those like 5 songs that are just great songs.
They're great to make a mixtape about.
Right. And the greatness doesn't stretch over 15 albums.
Exactly. Like we were saying with Ozzy, you could put on Blizzard of Oz and listen to it all the way through. I can't say that with Night Ranger, Midnight Madness, or even Dawn Patrol.
Or Revolution by Night by Oyster Cult.
Mm-hmm.
It did get to number 93 in the top 100, but that was probably just on the strength of their name. And, again, like Night Ranger, this might be the last Oyster Cult album, first and last, that we really discussed, because they're really, really moving far away from anything considered, hard rock or heavy metal. Now, before we started planning this podcast, did you ever hear of a band called Witchfinder General?
I did not, and I was a little wary about them. I'm like, oh, geez.
I think I heard the name when they would talk about the new wave of British heavy metal. They would talk about, Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, Tigers of Pantang, and some other bands, but Diamond Head. Witchfinder General, there was also a band called Witchfind. So it's 2 different bands.
A skeleton witch.
But back in like the early 90s, Lars Ulrich did a compilation for Metal Blade Records where he put together, a double CD or whatever of 30 or 40 songs by local England bands that were part of this new wave of British heavy metal. And you recognize Iron Maiden and you recognize Diamond Head, others, but some, you never even heard of. So I think I heard the name Witchfinder General there, but I never did a deep dive, never listened to their albums until now.
Same. I've never heard of them. I was like, where'd they find that name? Apparently it's a 1968 horror movie. But so I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this. We're doing the podcast. I put it on. I hear the guitar. The production's pretty bad. And I'm like, what am I getting into? But it was good.
I like the butt. I was waiting to see where you're going to go.
I really liked it. It was a good record.
After listening to the kind of overproduced Girlschool and Blue Oyster Cult, like bands taking too much hold of that 80s technology, this album is dirty. It sounds dirty.
It's like...
I know this isn't like a real music recording term, but there's dirt on the microphones. They didn't wash these microphones. No. It's when you heard like later bands that were considered what do you call it, like Caius and those kinds of bands. What do they call it? Like doom metal. Like that's where this came from. Like I think Phil Anselmo from Pantera, when he did his side project Down, I think he used to wear like a Witchfinder General t-shirt. This album is called Friends of Hell.
That's a good title.
And the record label is Heavy Metal Records. I mean, come on.
They're really putting themselves in a niche there.
Let's go. I mean, it's November of 83. And like I talked about with Mercyful Fate, there's a different kind of band that's gurgling under here, and Witchfinder General, even though they don't go on to any success, it's just, I like that it's out there. I like that it's a 1983 relic, like put it in a time capsule.
And I loved it. I felt a little weird. Like, do I really like this? But I did. I was very surprised.
Yeah, so they had an album called Death Penalty, then an album called this album called Friends of Hell, and then did some 2000 album with some of the members called Resurrected. But it was like a fresh listen after some of the overproduced other albums, and it was just very basic and kind of primal.
Overproduction is not good.
No, they have one song though. It sounds like it's all hell music, and some of it is, but then also they have a song called Music. I like music, you guys, the chorus says.
And then you think they're all evil, but then you look at their album covers and it's like naked women.
Yeah, they evidently got in trouble for their album covers. So if you hear the name Witchfinder General and the album's called Friends of Hell, I figure I'm going to open up and see the cover and it's going to look like a Cannibal Corpse album.
Yeah, like Venom.
It's going to be like just crazy. And instead they recreated like almost like the Salem witch hunt.
But they're wearing lingerie.
But the women are topless wearing lingerie while the band is dressed like a bunch of Puritans, ready to burn them at the stake. Both of their albums, both album covers, topless women on the covers.
The first one, Death Penalty, it's right in your face. It's like she's just showing the mammary glands right there.
So they got in trouble for that. And then it says they just kind of went away. I don't know why they just didn't change the cover or record another album, but
how were they able to release that in the first place? Especially back then.
When you're on Heavy Metal Records, I guess you get away with more than when you're on Warner Brothers. But they were definitely Sabbath influenced. They broke up in 1984. A lot of times when you go look at Wikipedia or some of these websites, it'll say, Girlschool is a band, Mercyful Fate is a band, because, they come back and back, but Witchfinder General just says was a band. They just, by 84, and that's why we never heard of them. I mean, first of all, they wouldn't put an ad for these albums with those covers in any legitimate magazine. Although
my friend Steve, he's very in tune with this stuff. He did mention that they're coming out with either a new album or a show or a tour. I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, I did see someone posting a picture that they were, they met the guy from Witchfinder General. Like at some festival, they saw I don't know how you'd even recognize. Like, hey, isn't that the singer from Witchfinder General from 40 years ago? But they were posing for a picture with him, so maybe they are doing some kind of festivals. But look it up. I mean, it's 9 songs. It's 36 minutes. It's just get in, get out. And it's definitely different.
It's my second favorite on this episode. I go with Melissa, then I go with this one.
All right. Pretty cool. How many podcasts discuss Witchfinder General?
I know.
How many people search for? Imagine someone going online and searching Witchfinder General and this episode coming up. Be like, what? Someone's talking about Witchfinder General on a podcast?
Like, what kind of a podcast talks about Witchfinder General?
All right. As we do on recent episodes, we've been adding a feature where we ask each other random questions. And random because the other one does not know what the questions will be about. They don't necessarily have to do with the artists in the episode. They're just 1980s rock and metal related questions. So should I go first this time?
Yeah, okay. And we don't know what I don't know what this is going to be. So
it's very 80s, but it involves television as much as it involves music. From knowing you in the 80s, 1983, 4, whatever, I knew that you loved Miami Vice when we were kids. So I am going to ask you, who is your favorite rock star that appeared as an actor on Miami Vice? I do have choices. Do you want to just do it off the top of your head? You want me to give you choices?
Give me choices.
Gene Simmons, Ted Nugent, Phil Collins, Glenn Frey, or Frank Zappa?
Oh, my God. I think I'm going to go with Ted Nugent. I'm not a fan of his in general, but it was a cool episode.
What was he in it? Do you remember?
He was like an arms dealer, if I remember right.
That fits.
And I remember the episode was very hot because they were sitting there, watching him, and Crockett says, "Man, even the breeze is hot."
Don Johnson at his finest. So Ted Nugent.
I think so. Zappa was okay too. I remember Frank Zappa was standing on the back of his yacht talking to Crockett, and he goes, I found out that this Sonny Burnett is actually Sonny Crockett. He found out the gig was up.
Wait a second. So Sonny Crockett's fake name was Sonny Burnett?
Yes.
Come on, man. You can't change the first name? 80s TV.
Yes.
So, okay. So I'll take that. Yours is Ted Nugent, the arms dealer, as the best rock star actor on Miami Vice.
All right. So my question to you.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be tough.
Uh-oh.
You have to drive cross country with one of these 3 people.
Okay.
In the seat next to you.
All right.
It's going to be either Sebastian Bach.
Okay.
Dave Mustaine.
Okay.
David Lee Roth.
Oh, jeez.
You got 2 guys who are going to drive you nuts and one who's just going to complain the whole time.
All right. Well, metal history, Dave Mustaine does not enjoy cross-country driving.
Does he enjoy anything, though?
But his first time going across country was when Metallica sent him back with a bus ticket from New York back to San Francisco. So I think that might bring back memories to him that I don't want to be a part of.
Flashbacks.
So I don't want the Debbie Downer in the passenger seat. I'm driving, I assume.
Yeah.
I don't understand half of what David Lee Roth is talking about anymore. You can't get a sentence out of him with some kind of mixed metaphors and references that nobody gets. So if I ask Dave a question, to help me navigate, or if he wants to pull over, he's just going to go into some rambling
weird
Buzzly
tangents.
Buzzly Bop thing and say, yeah, let's run a rocket ship ride to the moon, man. You know, like I don't think I want to deal with him either. So even though he's loud and he's obnoxious and his former band doesn't seem to want anything to do with him, I think I would probably choose Sebastian Bach because he does have great musical tastes. He was an early member of the Kiss Army. He was an early member of Rush's fan club. So I think he can control the radio while I drive, and I'll choose Sebastian Bach for that cross-country
Good call.
trek.
You can convince him to put the radio on. Maybe he'll stop blabbing.
Yeah, play me some DJ for me. Play some of your favorite songs.
Can you imagine driving cross country with David Lee Roth?
Would he let me drive? I don't know. It seems like he wants to be in control of everything. I think Dave Mustaine would want to be in control of everything too, but I think Sebastian Bach would be happy being the DJ.
I think Mustaine would be a gas tank is half empty type of guy.
Oh, man. So, all right. So Sebastian Bach and Ted Nugent get mentions on Random Questions on the 80s Metal Hang. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at the 80s Metal Hang.
That's 80S.
Where you can see photos in our weekly episode scrapbook.
We also have a YouTube channel with video playlists that pair with each episode.
And on Spotify, we have playlists highlighting the albums and songs discussed each week.
And please be sure to subscribe and comment wherever you get this podcast.
Oh, yeah.